Guys, before Robert puts the balance belt on, let's talk about balance shaft timing marks. Alright, so we still of course have our motor at TDC because we haven't done anything yet with it. And you can see, I'm going to try and lower the camera in here so that you can see the back of the upper balance, both balance shaft pulleys have a notch on the edge of the sprocket. You can see that notch. I know it's not that clear because of the position of the video. And then the upper shaft has a notch. The upper balance shaft pulley timing mark is on the belt cover, and you can see that notch right there. So we have the upper shaft aligned. Now the bottom shaft, I'm going to go under the car. Our bottom balance shaft pulley also has a notch. Keep coming.
Yep, I see.
All right, there she is.
There it is, and
okay, now there's a notch right here, and then it uses a plastic tab.
And it looks lined up.
For its timing alignment.
Yep.
And this is the tab. It's molded onto the case, onto the rear timing cover. Okay, and we're going to get it lined up there. It looks pretty.
Yeah, it looks good.
Pretty solid. And since Rob's going to be working under the car, I'm going to give him a hand by keeping the upper balance shaft in time while he mounts the rest of the belt and pulleys and idler, and he's going to keep that bottom one in time. Now, before we put the balance belt on, we got to put our crankshaft sprocket back on, and you can see that there's a keyway right here, and there's a key up in the top. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slide that on for Rob. Okay, now this isn't going to move because we do have the flywheel lock in place. Alright, so that's on. Now Rob's going to put the nut through the face. He's going to finger tighten it, and then he's going to tighten that up with a 15/16 and a breaker bar, because this one's got to be tight. This is 150 pounds, so we're gonna swing the breaker bar, and then when we go back over with the torque wrench, we're gonna get everything set just right. Well, Rob's working under the car. Let me take a second to point something out, because I've seen on a few different forums help threads about I put my rollers on backwards. Making sure that you put the correct roller on the correct mounting stud is one thing, but as far as putting them on backwards, you can see both of our tensioning rollers have a flat side, and then they have a tensioning side. Okay, the tensioning side is always going to face outwards away from the motor, so that you can access the tensioning nut, the eccentric nut here, with the wrench for tensioning. So that should keep it going on in the right direction. It will work in the wrong direction, guys. You don't let that give you a false sense of security, alright? Make sure that you can have your tensioning wrench. If your tensioning wrench can't be on the outside right underneath your 17mm, you got it backwards. So, take a quick think break before you tighten anything down. Now, setting the balance shaft, we're going to start around the upper balance shaft sprocket. Setting the balance belt, we're going to start around the upper balance shaft sprocket. We're going to make sure that this stays at the timing mark, which it is right now. So I'm going to get this belt seated and minding my timing mark. Okay, I'm all seated. Now Rob is going to pull this side tight, okay, the side away from the rest of the motor internals, and he's going to come down around that crank shaft sprocket.
And there we go.
Okay, is it nice and tight over here, Rob? Doesn't look too tight.
Hold on.
We just don't want any slack. Just make sure that it's in the right tooth. Okay, because the balance belt obviously gets a lot looser than the other two belts. Alright, so once are you in there? You're just seated on the teeth?
Almost. Yep.
Okay, good.
That's too loose, though.
No, it's alright. Well, shouldn't have any slack in it, that's all. Now that we have the belt seated on the upper balance shaft sprocket, and we have it routed nicely around the crankshaft. So now that we have the balance belt routed around the upper balance sprocket and the crankshaft pulley, okay, we're going to put the tensioner on this stud down here in the lower corner. Alright, but it's going to go around the belt. Now, very, very critically important is that Rob has gotten the belt around the lower balance shaft sprocket and the timing marks are still in alignment. So after he gets this tensioner in place and slid on, then we're going to just go ahead and verify that that balance shaft is still lined up with its timing notch.
It's there. I can see it's right there.
And the tab.
Yep, right there.
Alright.
See it?
Rob is tightening the tensioner on the lower, or on the balance. He's tightening the balance belt tensioner just by hand right now to where it is tensionable preliminary, but able to, you know, be adjusted with the Porsche tool. And then we're going to put the idler pulley in, and then finally we're going to finish this up by tensioning the balance shaft belt. Rob is putting the idler roller in place right now. Now this is an eccentric one as well, so that you can get it spaced right. The best thing I can say is set it so it's not touching the balance belt at rest, and just tighten it up, same as everything else, 33 NMs, or I'm sorry, 42 NMs, or 33 pounds. Okay, and you're going to use that eccentric nut to just space it so it's not touching anything while it's at rest. Once the car is moving, the belt's always going to move in the same direction, so if it is rolling, it'll spin appropriately. It'll just keep it from skipping around. Right, and the balance belt obviously is much looser than the timing belt, so that's why you have that idler in place. Alright, now we're going to tension up the balance belt, and the balance shaft belt, you get tension. We're going to use the longest span, which is between the upper and the upper sprocket and then the tensioning sprocket. Now the balance belt is much, much looser. It's a 180-degree rotation with a thumb and a forefinger. So as of now, so you should be able to flip it all the way over. So as of now, it's too tight. So Rob, I'm going to have you back out the tension a little bit. Now I have it at 180. Go ahead and tighten it, Rob, until it's pulling on my fingers. Just a little bit. Now that you're loosening it. Oh, okay. Let's see. I think that's about right. Now, you can see how loose this is. It looks too loose, but it's not. It's 180 degrees is the rule with the balance belt. So, we're going to give that a spin. And you can see with the thumb and one finger I can get it over, so that's just about right. So go ahead, Rob, and crank that one down.
Yep. There you go.
Alright, now all of our belts in place, so we're going to go ahead and we're just going to check all of our alignments. Alright, I just came from the front of the car, and engine is still at TDC, which of course was assured by the fact that the flywheel lock is in place. Our camshaft sprocket is still sitting nicely on its timing mark. You can see that. Our upper balance shaft sprocket, while it is a little obscured by the lighting, is still on its timing mark. Excuse me, which is right about 12 o'clock, right there. And the lower balance shaft sprocket, Rob, I'm going to have to go to...
Let's go to Robbie Cam.
I'll let you verify that one.
Yeah, we are gold. There's the notch and there's the tab. Your finger's right on the notch.
Yep, I feel it. Okay, good.
Okay, there you go.